history of the Big 12, there's only been one team that has outright, not tied for it, that has outright won the Big 12 in back-to-back years. And that team's Oklahoma. There's been teams that have won it one year and then split the title in another year, but there's been no team since the Big 12 was originated that's won the Big 12 in back-to-back years. And that right there should tell you that we better go to work every single day and try to be the best version of us.
Next up, Chris.
Hey, Kenny. This ability to retain all of your starters and carry 50 plus scholarship returners on top of what you're adding, what does that do from a roster standpoint? And what were there any concerns at any point or fears about the potential of losing some of these guys that you were able to retain into the spring?
Yeah, well, obviously, when you're winning, you have concerns because, people want your guys, so there's obviously that, double-edged sword. But I think our guys like it here. I think they truly want to be here. I think it just shows the environment that's here. I think it really just shows that our kids love it here. They enjoy it here. What we recruit them to join and what we recruit them to be a part of is not fake. It's not a sales pitch. It's real. And even guys that maybe came here, transferred here, that it didn't wind up how they wanted it to. Guys that came here to try to win a starting job that didn't win a starting job. A lot of those guys came back too. And I think when you go somewhere and you genuinely feel like you're part of, a football family, and you genuinely like the people around you, you're genuinely happy. I think, other people that are calling you and trying to get you to make other decisions, I think at the end of the day, you want to be happy. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Blake?
Do you feel like, sorry to follow up, do you feel like maybe this is crazy, but do you feel a lot further ahead now than were you a year ago at this time with your roster?
Oh, 100%. Obviously, I mean, returning, I think we had 36 guys or 38 guys in our 2 deep that had the ability to come back. 35, 36, or 36, 37, 38, one of those two numbers of our top 44 returners ability to come back. And we lost two of them into the portal. And they're both fifth-year seniors, if not a sixth-year senior. And I think when you have that much continuity returning, it's bittersweet. It's sweet because you get a whole bunch of good players back. The bitter part is what we alluded to earlier is how do you get that same group of people to play with that fire, that energy, have that passion, play with that level of the world's against me. And I think the greatest challenge for our guys is that it's because we have everybody back. We're going to have expectations. The reality is it really doesn't matter. We're only going to be as good as we prepare and we practice and as good as we want to be. And we're not just going to be able to show up on Saturday and win games. It's a process.
Blake?
Hey, Kenny, Blake Neiman, Sun Devil Source. Kind of to build off that with the returners coming back, pairing that with the recruits you have coming in with the 2025 class, plus the guys you've been able to pick up in the 2026 class, what excites you about the future and how the guys who are returning can almost rub off in a way and help develop the guys that are going to be the next generation of Sun Devils?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to yourself personally. That's exciting for you to get that
Thank you.
opportunity at your age. That's awesome. To answer your
Thank you.
question, yeah, I mean, I definitely think now that we have some consistency in our program because guys are staying here, we're starting to set a standard for being 5 minutes early, how we work, what are we going to wear when we work out? How do you have fun and work your butt off every single day? Like, how is that possible to grind and also enjoy it and fall in love with it? And so I definitely think our leaders coming back and the amount of dudes we have coming back are setting a standard for the next generation of Sun Devils. And I think we're recruiting Sun Devils who love football. who are good people. And I think they fit into the culture that we're creating. We're not just recruiting the most talented kids, we're recruiting the most talented kids that we believe fit what we're looking for in terms of the cultural fit in the program.
Damon?
Hey, Kenny, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. Was just curious if you had seen the comments from Larry Fitzgerald about the program being on the rise and about you as a developer, just what you made of those and what your relationship is like with him as kind of a Valley sports legend.
I honestly did not see what he say.
Just that you're, have the program on the rise and that you're galvanizing the community and developing players well and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool. Well, I can't comment because his son's a recruit, because that would be a violation. However, as Larry Fitzgerald, the Valley legend, goes, I can comment on him. That's pretty cool to hear that from somebody who, I as a fan grew up watching at home on Sundays. And it was just, to see how he did it in such a professional manner, to see how he did it in such a respectful way, not just on the football field, not just I use a clip of his to show our team 2-minute drills where he takes the ball, rips it out of his teammates' hands and sprints it in a 2-minute drill because of his intelligence. And I think when you think about Fitzgerald, yeah, you think about how good he was at football, but I think what people remember is just how good of a person he was. And I think it's pretty cool when you've accomplished the things that Larry accomplished in his career, that people don't just remember him as Larry Fitzgerald, the really good wideout. They remember him as Larry Fitzgerald. Man, that dude was so cool when I met him. That dude was smart. That dude's involved in the community. There's so much more depth to Larry than, the football player Larry. And I think that's what separates him, and that's what makes him the legend he is today in this community.
Hode?
Hi, Kenny. Hode Rubino, Devil's Digest. I don't know how many times since the end of the season you've been asked, what are you guys going to do without Cam Scadaboo? I don't want to be that guy to ask that question. But what I will ask is, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I'm sure, you're pleased with how the offensive scheme did operate last year. Do you feel there's really not a whole lot to change, even though you're losing, one of the best players to ever suit up for Arizona State?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to change. I think we have to constantly change. I think if we sit back here and say that we're just going to copy paste what we did last year to this year, I think we're delusional. I think we have to we have some returners back at pass catching positions. We have returners back at back that are maybe spatial players instead of in the box players as much. Maybe they can be used in more space. And we have a quarterback who is returning, who started to, he got better throughout the season. So I think offensively, if we're not going to adapt and change our schemes, we shouldn't, maybe we're not changing things, but maybe we're, prioritizing different things more in the offseason, because at the end of the day, it's about maximizing the players on your team. And we have different teams. So let's maximize those guys. Let's maximize our skill sets. So we should look a little bit different this year. And if we don't, I'll be disappointed in myself that I didn't take this new team and kind of adapt around our skill sets.
Jordan?
Hey, Kenny, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ. What can an extra year with Elijah O'Neal do for this defense and do for him?
Oh, well, he was one of our most improved players. Him and Kyle Scott were two of our most improved players on our team. So for him to be able to come back one more year and just get another year of collegiate football, if he has 75% of the growth that he had last year, he's going to be a force this year. And so I think personally for him, you could see his growth and maybe become a Sunday player and have the opportunity to play on Sundays with another year of college football and development. Which is awesome for him. And then for us, obviously we get a really good player back who's bought into the culture and all that stuff. So I think it's a win-win for us and him.
Adam?
Hey, Coach, can you talk about the addition of Jack Nudo to your staff? And did you know him at all when he was at Brophy?
So Jack Nudo's dad, Gene Nudo, used to be the general manager of the Rattlers. When I was growing up, and he actually was the GM of the Rattlers and also coached my youth football team. So he was actually, G Nudo was my youth football coach for the Northeast Bombers. We couldn't beat the Cowboys. We always lost to the Cowboys, but we were pretty good if we weren't playing the Cowboys. And so I knew the family for a while. I actually had been following his career just because he was a local guy. And everybody just always said how good of a job he did. So when we had an opportunity, he came out to a spring ball practice or a bull prep practice when he came home. And when we had an opportunity to hire a guy in the assistant special teams role, I'm like, well, this dude's running it. I called the head coach at Austin P, and I've known him for a while, Coach Ferris. He's phenomenal. And he's like, listen, I don't want to lose him, but this dude's a no-brainer. If you don't hire him, something's wrong. So anytime a head coach tells you that and he means it, and it's a guy that you know, it was a no-brainer for us to bring him to the program. But then it's a double whammy because he's also from here. And that's awesome that this is a guy who's not just going to want to leave because he gets to live in Tempe, Arizona, back where he's from, and where he went to Brophy Prep.
Michael?
Hey, Coach. Michael Carrot, Nudo, Pitchfork Lunch. So looking at the schedule, obviously you go into what you're saying about evolving, as an offense, like when Hoda asked you. But when you look at the schedule and only playing 3 teams that you played last year, obviously Iowa State, Utah, and Arizona, not that you're not excited for every season, but how much more exciting does that make prep, at least conference-wise?
Yeah, it definitely makes it exciting because you're facing new teams every year, which is bitter and sweet. Sometimes the consistency of understanding an opponent is, you know what you're going to get. You had a plan. You knew the plays you didn't run last year, so you're going to carry those over into the next year's plan, and you have it highlighted, and it makes it kind of easier. Or, hey, we played this team last year and we ran blank, blank, and blank, and this was their answer. So we have to have an answer for their answer. But then also, if they don't have the answer, right, go back to what we did last year. Now it's like starting over. So you're kind of at square one. It's almost like you're going to play in a new conference again because you have no backing with these teams you're about to play. So that's the part that is kind of exciting for us is you play new teams, new environments. So that's exciting.
Thank you.
Brad?
Hey, Kenny, Brad Denny, 3TV, CBS 5. Obviously, Scott's going to leave quite a hole offensively for you guys, but adding Kanye to that running back room along with the returning guys, what are some things kind of jump out to you about that group right now, and then some of the things that you want to see out of them throughout spring practices?
Yeah, I think, him and Sip, you mentioned them, Kanye and Sip and Raleek and Jason. I mean, we have a crew of guys, and Alto, who's coming on, came out here at the end of the year last year. It's never really gotten a rhythm. I think we got a really deep room there's different skill sets. And I'm excited to see the guys, get tackled. I mean, I know it sounds so boring, but the best running backs don't get tackled. So I'm excited to see which ones in spring ball when we go live don't get tackled very easily. Which ones can catch the ball out of the backfield and which ones take care of the football, obviously, and then are physical, in the pass pro games. So I think we'll figure that out in the spring. But I think we definitely have some depth in that room that even though we don't have a scat, I think we're going to have a bunch of guys that can, pick up as many pieces as possible from losing scat.
Greg?
Hey, Coach. Greg Graves here with Carl Knight News. I was kind of just wondering, how do you feel as we transition into this new Big 12 era that your football team has not only grown, Arizona State football, but Arizona State as a whole?
Yeah, I think anytime that your football program is, in my opinion, your front yard of your front vision, whatever that picture is of your university, because it's going to be out there so much. So when people think the average fan or the average person thinks about the university, they're going to think of, I just saw them on ESPN. Oh, that Texas game. That Iowa State game. I think that's what sports and what football does. And I know our ticket sales, I know our online enrollment is higher than it has been. All of those things because, these players, put this program and put this university kind of on the map, on the national stage. Every time you saw top 4 teams in the country and top 4 playoff teams, you saw the pitchfork right there. You know, who knows if we'll eventually make that the Sparky instead of the pitchfork, but that's probably a deeper conversation. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I would love to see. I got the Sparky back there. I'm a big Sparky guy. So, but no, for me, it's just anytime your football program can do that and put your university out there in a positive light, it's a positive. And I think we did that at a really high stage. And I think that momentum has gone. I mean, volleyball, putting on a show. They got a game tonight. I think all of that stuff is super exciting.
Doug?
Doug Franz Unplugged podcast. I got 3 if you're okay with it. Number 1, has anybody in any kind of authoritative capacity or the conference, anybody reach out to you post Texas and say, okay, here's the 2025 targeting rule, or here's targeting going forward, or hey, we screwed that up, we're sorry? Anybody reach out to you afterwards?
Yeah, I had a meeting about it, just about some of the process that goes in, you know, when you're playing a game with Big 12 officials, and then when you're playing a game without Big 12 officials. So we had a discussion. In those discussions, there are no positive results because the result is over. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds about what they told me, because it doesn't solve any problems. I think we all know what the correct answer is to the question, but I'm not going to get into the weeds of the personal conversation that I had.
Number 2, when this is an old loose Bill Belichick quote, but it was, we're not defending anything. He didn't believe they were the defending Super Bowl champions because he said, no one can take away what we did last year, and it doesn't do anything for us this year. Are you the defending Big 12 champions?
I feel the exact same way. I mean, nobody gives a crap. I mean, we didn't give a crap last year. Nobody gives a crap. I mean, at the end of the day, you're only as good as who you are right now. And our guys get to be told how great they are for another 6 months or 7 months, whatever that is. And then if we go out and suck, they're going to say we suck. Sorry, bud. That year is over. Nobody gives a crap. It's over. So we better put in the work necessary to be the best version of us this year. And that's a daily grind to just be the best version of you. And that's how we define success in our program. So I could give a crap about defending this, defending that, or are we this, are we that? You know, those are just great moments along the journey. And it was a heck of a moment, unbelievable moment. Our guys remember that moment forever. Our fan base is excited about that moment. But we're a completely different football team, and this isn't the same team as last year. And if we think last year's success is going to guarantee us this year's success, then we're delusional.
And my last one is, I just read about this yesterday, so I don't know if it's been in the works for a while, but new potential rule: once you're injured, if anybody comes out to tend to you, you're now out for the rest of the possession, not just out for the play. Your opinion on what the substitution rule on injuries should be?
I think for us, sorry, I got my little guys over here running around. So if I'm not looking at the camera, that's why he's watching me, because I'm doing this from home. I see you too. But no, I think for us, and for me personally, here, you can come over here. Come here. You want to be on TV? You want to be on TV? No. No, you don't want to? Okay, never mind. But I think for me personally, whatever protects the players, just like my targeting stance. I mean, whatever we feel, regardless of the rules you make, coaches are going to try to get around them. I mean, that's the nature of coaching. That's everything you'll ever do, whether it's taxes, whether it's coaching, whatever it is. If you set a set of rules, you best believe people are going to work around trying to make it an advantage. So I really don't. As long as it protects the players and it doesn't hurt the players, I'm fine with it. If coaches play a little bit of games with them, I mean, you would hope it's not extreme, but I can't control that. All I can control is how do we protect our guys.
Jordan?
Hey, Kenny, Jordan Ham again. I don't know if you saw, but the NFF Valley of the Sun chapter announced Charlie Riegel as the Distinguished Arizonan Award, or he's going to win it this year. How has Charlie embodied what Arizona football is all about in his multiple roles over the years?
They're good. Hello? I lost you there.
You got me?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
All good. Charlie Riegel, not sure if you saw, but he got named the Distinguished Arizonan Award by the NFF Valley of the Sun chapter. What does that mean to you and your staff, and how has he embodied what Arizona football is all about over the years?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's special. It's just special for me just because he was my high school coach. He was the one that got me into coaching, the one who had the hard truth and said, Kenny, you're not very good. Why don't you coach? So I think anytime you make an impact on people the way he has, and an impact obviously on the community, the way he has, I think that's pretty special. And I think the impact he's made on the Valley, on the state, whether that's a high school coach, whether that's coaching at Arizona State, whether that was recruiting here when he was at other schools, I think his entire time, over the last 20, 25 years, he's had an impact on Phoenix and on Arizona high school football. And I think that this award just shows the impact he's had on people. And if there's anything that those of you who don't know who Charlie Riegel is he's a people person. All he cares about are people. He just wants to see people succeed. He wants to genuinely help people. And I think that's what makes him special. So super proud and excited for him to get that award, and well-deserved.
Blake?
Hey, Kenny, Blake Neiman here again. You were on the Adam Brenneman show yesterday and discussed your want to get an indoor facility in the future connected to your team facility. How would you elaborate on what a structure like that would do, and how close do you think you are to getting that accomplished?
Yeah, I know we're working on it from a time perspective as we speak. To me, I'm not as concerned about, I say indoor, but I just want a covered area. When it's hot here, you go in the shade, get some fans rocking, and you're fine. I actually like being outside. I like the air. So it's more, can we get a covered area to practice in closer to our facility so we don't, have issues traveling to and from the facility. We can be more efficient with our time. We can transition out on the field for walkthroughs, then come back, which we can't always do right now. So I think just for the football program, I think we're the only Big 12 school in the country that doesn't have an adjacent practice structure to their facility right now in the Big 12. I'm like 95% sure. Don't completely quote me on it. I was given that information. So it's definitely something that I think is important for us in order to take the next step, just from an efficiency standpoint for our players. And I do think we're in process of working on that. And it would also be awesome because it also gives potentially our fans an area to tailgate on game days in a covered setting on turf grass or on fields. It gives that kind of green lawn feel as well, which is we're trying to get more fan support and more people involved. It could definitely be something that could help in both areas.
Damon?
I imagine, based on what you and Arroyo have said about Sam's work ethic, a full offseason could really benefit him. So along the lines of that footwork tweak you guys made around last year's bye, what are some of the things you are looking to improve with him this spring?
Yeah, I would say rhythm in the drop back game. Having rhythm, feet and eyes, being basically consistent with one another on certain throws. When you're an athlete, you're an athletic quarterback, your entire life, you've kind of played free, and that's really important. You never want to take away somebody's ability to play point guard and play free. That's something the best guys, I think some of the best guys in the NFL now have, is that kind of point guard feel. But I think there's a balance of being able to play so free and then also have some spots of your game that are very, very, very rhythmic. And I think we need to improve his ability to be rhythmic in some areas of the game where he doesn't need to play point guard, where you know where to go with your ball. You're looking at one player. The ball is out here. The ball is out here instantly. And how do we improve the efficiency of that passing? And I think that can be based in the drops. So I think that's one piece that we're really looking to improve from him. And it's the challenge that I met with him about because, he's a special talent. And I think it's our job to try to maximize him even if some things are uncomfortable for him at the start, if we feel like it's best for him, this is the time to do it. Because if it doesn't look good through June, you're like, scratch this, screw everything we just did, go play point guard again. I know we can do that, but what can we do to try to improve his game? I say that's the biggest thing, is eyes and feet together in some of the intermediate pass and short, quick passing game.
Ode?
Kenny, I know the 105 scholarship limit is uncharted waters for everybody, not just for yourself. And I know you probably have some walk-ons in mind that you expect them to be scholarship players in the fall. What is the process, from your standpoint? Is this spring practice maybe an audition, so to speak, for some of the other walk-ons that to determine if they will be part of that 105 scholarship limit?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I'm eventually going to have to tell some guys on their team that they're not on their team. That sucks. I mean, there's no way around the fact that sucks. But we're going to keep the guys on our team that we feel like give us the best chance to win. And that's not just physically. That's, maybe they're the best culture piece. Maybe they, do really, really well in classes and they help kids, in school and football, and maybe he's a sounding board to people. Maybe he's just a guy really liked on the team. I mean, I don't know. And that's a really important piece of our culture. I think there's so many things that go into winning football when you're dealing with 105 to 120 people. I don't think the answer is just, who is the best player. I think it's who is the best player / person for our football team. So I definitely think it's going to be not the most fun April for myself at the end of April, but it's necessary and it's not my choice. It just is what it is. So, yeah.
Chris?
Kenny, you had some of your players at the recent basketball game unveiling the Big 12 championship. I noticed some guys appeared to be coming off of surgeries or injuries, including some starters. What's the status of some of those guys for the spring?
Golly, we have a few.
Maxi score was one of them.
I don't want to miss a few. Max will be out in the spring. Let me go. Boogie will be out in the spring. Mikhail will be back. Should be back. Bang bang. Xavien, obviously he's fine. He'll be back. Boom boom boom. Going by position group. Running back fine. Wide out. JT will be back. He'll be good. DB, Miles Rouser will be back. He'll be good. Linebacker will be good. Cam Dyer will obviously be out for spring with his injury. So yeah, I think I don't know if I missed anybody. Trying to think of who I saw today on the bikes, but I don't think I missed anybody.
Daniel?
Hey, Coach, Daniel, Real Estate Press. Obviously, you're busy with, kind of getting spring ball and all that kind of, going in next year. But, with the NFL draft coming up and you have a few Sun Devils in that, how much are you kind of helping some of those prospects? And are some of them, kind of still here seeking help from some of the coaches?
Yeah, I think one of the cool things is, I think Coach Joe is one of the best strength coaches in the country. So some of our guys choose to stay and train with Coach Joe, which I think is awesome because he knows them already. So there's just a growth pattern to what they already are instead of a getting to know process. So I think there's an advantage there. And then we have our coaches will train those guys if they want to be trained for the draft. And, you see Stovall down there with Coach Ward, Hines Ward training for the draft. I mean, where else are you going to go to get that level of training for the draft? So we definitely have situations set up good for those guys if they want to be local or if they want to be afar, at a distance. And then from that perspective, I'm getting calls from teams about our guys in terms of our thoughts on them. And like I said, these guys were one of the biggest group of overachievers that you could be a part of. And that tells you everything you need to know about them, about the Leafs and the Snowballs. All these guys that left, a big crew of these guys that left were on our leadership council. And that leadership council was running the team. And anytime you could get those types of guys into your organization, you at least know that you're getting somebody who's going to elevate the organization, not just from a playing ability, but everything else. They're going to elevate the organization. So I think all of our guys are a no-brainer from that perspective. You can't really sway a team on if they think a guy is good enough physically. They get paid a lot of money to do that, and they're not going to listen to the person who's a little bit of a fanboy over his own players, right? So whatever you say about your guys, they want to know who they are as people, and that's the part that I can really attest to. We have really great kids, really great people that love ball, and I think that's really what I'm trying to sell with teams is these guys are going to overachieve. Wherever you have them ranked physically, they're going to outperform that. So you guys better put that into your metric.
Michelle?
Coach, at the Peach Bowl, you kind of talked about you hadn't had time to reflect and you're not a reflective guy. That wasn't the time for it. Now that you've kind of had a month to reflect now, what did you learn about yourself over the past season? And if anything, what would you do differently? What lessons did you learn?
Yeah, I think what I learned about myself is, I got to continue to trust people, even more. Last year when I look back, that was one of my takeaways was, you got to trust the people around you. I think I did that better. And I think that was a benefit for us, was just it freed me up to do more things. I think this year, where I really want to challenge myself is to have more difficult conversations. If I don't feel there were a few times when I felt like I didn't necessarily like something. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to roll with it. And, in hindsight, I would have liked to be a little more assertive in some of those situations. And I think there's that balance of I'm going to trust you do it. I'm not going to tell you how to solve the problem, but I don't like that we're creating this problem. I can say, listen, I don't like this. Solve the solution a different way. And I think for me, I think I want to be a little bit more assertive, being able to say, hey, I don't like this solution. I don't care find me other solutions and find a different solution to this problem. And that's something that I'm going to try to be better at this year when I reflect and just reflecting on the year. Unbelievable year. It was a special season. I think just walking around the valley, I mean, you can feel the energy about Arizona State. Like it is real. Like we could be the most excited. Like we are exciting when people see the pitchfork or Sparky. People get genuinely excited, and I think that was kind of the mission when we got here 2.5 years ago, or 2.25 years ago, was create that excitement back. And that's what's a joy to me, is to see our guys kind of be a part of this transition from the stadium 50% sold out to 2 field rushes. And that's just fun. Like that's the stuff I reflect on, is those moments, not necessarily the wins, but the locker room celebrations, the excitement of the community, our guys walking around feeling like, man, this matters. Like people care that we're doing this. All that stuff helps ASU football and helps our football program.
Time for a few more questions. Go ahead, Brad.
So Xavien Alford's play has obviously been a huge part, but how much has his leadership and kind of just being one of the emotional cores of this team played a factor in the program's turnaround?
Oh, absolutely critical. I mean, absolutely critical. He gives, I know I say this till I'm red in the face, but he gives our pregame speeches. He gives our halftime speeches. He's the one yelling at our kids on our own team, saying, hey, stand up, stop bending over in workouts, keep your chest up. Like, he's a guy that sets a standard, and then he lives the standard. He's a guy who all the guys like. They hang out together. They go to his house. They go. I mean, he's such a vital part of the program. I mean, this guy, if he got into coaching, he could be a head coach he could be a head coach by the time he's 30. I mean, 32. I mean, 31. Sometime in that time frame. If his career, if he said eventually, I'm done with this. This is a guy who could be an elite leader of men sooner rather than later. He's just wise beyond his years.
Michael?
Yeah, Coach, to follow up on the 105 scholarships, because obviously I understand it, but is it basically to where you couldn't? Would you be able to have, like, I guess, like walk-ons still try out if you were to save scholarships, or are they just trying to? Do you feel the NCAA is just trying to get rid of that? I mean, is it up to each individual school? Because I get you can have 105 on scholarship, but could you still have like walk-on tryout?
Yeah, I mean, getting down to 105, I mean, we're already going to have to remove certain guys from our football team, which is unfortunate because you have to get down. So I don't think that's fair, in my opinion, to then make those kids who are on our football team compete versus other kids who aren't on our football team for that spot. So no, we're not going to have those just because we're already going to have to, limit them in the future and, 10 or whatever, 2-3 years, who knows what the rules will be. But if the rules are consistent, maybe you have some of those spots open up again, but I don't think so in this current climate of how it's operating. I don't see those as an option anymore.
Hope.
Kenny, I know that when spring practice starts, you're curious to see each and every position, if the items on the to-do list are checked off and whatnot. But it would seem that wide receiver and defensive back maybe more too deep, but wide receiver, even some starting positions, there are a lot of new faces over there. Are those the two positions that you may handle a little differently just because the overall percentage of returning players is not the same as other positions on the team?
Yeah, we're definitely going to treat spring ball a little bit differently this year with the guys who, had a certain number of snaps this last year. We're definitely going to not necessarily slow it down, but protect them from going out and having another 15-day season, within 2 months of their last game or 2.5 months of their last game. But then the guys that didn't have that high workload in the season, it's going to be a normal spring. So those wideouts that are new, some of these guys that have joined our program, yeah, they're going to have a normal get after it physical spring. We're just going to have to find that balance as a staff, and we already kind of have a little bit of an outline plan how to keep our I say vets, but they may be young, but a vet who had a lot of snaps last year, over 700, 800 snaps. To be able to tone them down in the spring just because of how soon spring is compared to our last game. And those guys have played so many snaps, those vets, that it's more about the strength and conditioning in the offseason and staying fresh than it is the actual physicality. And then when we hit fall camp, it'll be on like Donkey Kong.
Daniel?
Hey, Coach, obviously you just came back from your recruiting trip and, you mentioned how you want guys who are, great people and just, kind of love the game. With Jake Fetty in the 2026 class, what did you kind of see in him as a player and a person, and how important do you think it is to still kind of visit kids who are, already kind of committed?
Yeah, I obviously can't comment on anybody in the 26 class just because they haven't signed with Arizona State yet. But I will say the class we're putting together, it has the starts of something special. I mean, when you look at the kids that we're getting and the kids that are committed and the type, not just the type of people they are, but the type of player they are, I think we're definitely raising the bar at Arizona State for what it looks like to come here. And I think that's the exciting part is kids. We got some kids from the state, some kids from outside the state. But there's an excitement when I walk into a school or when I call a kid or when I call a coach, there's an excitement about ASU. Like I called a kid the other day and we offered him and he goes, I've been waiting on this one. I've been waiting. I've watched you guys all year. Like that level of excitement is needed in order to take the next step and to continue to build this thing. So where we're not just a flash in the pan, and there's going to be ups and downs and ups and downs. It's part of college sports, but the goal is to create a valley that when you hit the valley and your standard is so high that when you hit a valley and you drop it down, it's not like the sky is falling. It's like, oh man, that year sucked. They won 7 or 8 games. That was crappy. The goal is, can you create the ceiling so high that the valleys aren't even that low? And I think that comes with recruiting. And I think the excitement that people have for ASU right now is it's fun to go on the road. Last year, not so fun. Like, yeah, I'm here. I'll go sit in the corner and wait until everybody's done, and then we'll come in. This year, it's like, oh man, people are fired up to see the Sparky and the pitchfork.
Blake?
Hey Kenny, Jason Mons in each of the last three recruiting cycles has been able to get a 4-star. In 24 class, Jaden Fortier, AJ Ia, and now Israel Briggs. What has he been able to do for this staff, not only on the recruiting front, but also just his larger presence in the offensive room and those conversations?
Yeah, Jason's obviously a phenomenal relationship builder. So I think that's obviously been his strength. He's a great team guy. He's a great worker. I think he gets the most out of his players because they know who he is. Like they know who he is as a person. I think that allows him to recruit at a really, really high level is because I think he's a really good person. And obviously his success at Saguaro, his success here already. So I think what he does for our full program is he sets a standard and controls his room at such a high rate that other people see it and other people have to try to hit that standard for how his room operates. Then his ability to recruit is just genuine relationships. And then when the players come on campus and they see how happy his players are, I think that helps. And we just got to continue to build, but he's done such a great job here. He's done such a great job. I mean, he's a guy who, in 10 years from now, the award Charlie Regel's about to be presented. We have 2 other guys in our staff that have the ability to win that award as well over the next, decade. And that'd be pretty cool to have 3 of the 3 people on our staff that all were that impactful to the Valley.
Chris?
Yeah, Kenny, the just overall, like how do you feel about the state of the program now versus the state of the program a year ago versus the state of the program the year prior, and the evolution that you've been able to make and how quickly that this thing has taken off?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're probably a year ahead of what I anticipated. I was anticipating year 3. We were kind of building for year 3 being the year we'd have to retain our roster and then make a run. And to be honest, I was talking to Jason Severko, our chief of staff, the other day. If we don't win our close games this last year, we're right about that plan. If we split our close games, we're not 10-2, we're 7-5, and people are happy, and people are like, okay, they return everybody. Let's see what they can do. Instead, we won all of our close games, which is exciting. So I definitely think it escalated us a year. And now I think we're a team that people think about. I think we're a team that every recruit wants to hear from. I think we're a team that people are looking at how we did things. I've gotten a billion calls about what did you do? Who did you recruit? And all that. I'm like, there's no secret, guys. Like we're honest with kids. I don't know what you're looking for. I don't have a magic wand. So I think where we were last year, where we were a team that believed in a program that people believed in, but it was going to go one or two ways. It was like, this is the year that there's got to be progress or it's all going to come crashing down. So it was like that. I would like to say that false hope, that there was a lot of false hope and a lot of real hope was our program. Some people were believers. Some people were not. Some people were kind of like, let me pick and choose after this year. So we were in this, like I would say, transition phase of a program of what we are and who we are. And I think the year prior, when we first got there, we were, in this is going to be a long haul phase where people are like, hey, buckle in, this is going to be a long haul fix. And I think all of those phases are necessary. I do think we're a little bit ahead, which is, it's awesome. And it's also frightening at times, because anytime that you exceed expectations at such a rate, the external expectations can sometimes become nearly impossible to achieve. And I think for our guys, that was the challenge, is nobody should ever set expectations on what we're going to be this year. All we should be is the best version of us. And if the best version of us is good enough to win 6 games, then great. If the best version of us is good enough to win a Big 12 championship, then great. But you can't let all of this other stuff dictate what we should achieve. And if you do that, then you're going to be chasing the wrong things forever. You should be chasing let's be the very best we can be. And throughout it, we'll figure out how good that is. Like, who knows how good that can be? If you would have told me last year what we would have achieved and we would have put a box around our expectations, no way would we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. So same thing this year. If you put this high ceiling on what we have to achieve and we don't hit it, that's how things go. Boom. And you slide straight back down. And now you're back in a rebuilding stage quickly. Boom. How fast you get it is how fast you lose it. So we have to stay focused on what wins, and that is the moments.
Doug?
In light of the story that you just told about one kid saying, I was waiting for this, we're in the business of storytelling. Can you give us a great story of any 2025 recruit? Was there a mom that's had terrible cooking and you sucked it up anyway, something like that? Or more specifically, is there somebody like in 2023 you weren't getting the time of day from, but every win last year, that kid started to be more and more open to you all the time, and you feel like you got one that maybe you wouldn't have gotten if Sam didn't have such a good year or the program didn't be a year ahead?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a really good story. It's more, last year when we're recruiting guys, and we get a lot of our class committed early because unlike most schools, when we get a commit and we say we're full at a position, we stop recruiting the rest of the position. Most people continue to recruit the position. They try to say, oh, well, I'm going to sign somebody better than the kid I have committed. I don't believe in that. I believe if you're committed, we're committed to you, you're committed to us. You don't go on visits, and we don't go try to find somebody better. Like, we're committed. So I think last year was exciting because, all these people started to reach back out to us. Hey, you got a spot? Hey, you got a spot? And we're like, we don't. We already have our guys. We believe in the guys we signed. We believe in their mindset, believe in their vision. So I think in the 25 class, it was more like, it was exciting that we could go to people and be like, no, this is, we have the people that are with us. And I'm a big believer in that. I believe in people and process just as much as I do athleticism and talent. I believe in the people in the process, and we have our people, we had our process to get our guys. And then the 26 class, it is exciting because the people we were in on that really liked us when we were really bad, and we're not winning games. Everybody's saying, are you really going to go there? And they're like, no, but I like their staff. They're cool people. So I talked to them. Well, now those people are like, oh crap, they're good. They're winning now. And I like their staff. Like, now what can this other school say? For a year, they've been telling these kids you can't go there because they suck. And now it's like they got to completely change their way to like recruit against us. And before it was like, oh, they got the youngest coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. And they're not winning. They're under sanctions. You don't want any of this. And now it's like, well, all that's gone. Uh-oh. They got to create a whole new plan to badmouth us. And I think that's really been the fun part, is listening to kids like tell me, like, this is what this school was telling me about y'all. They've completely changed. They're now saying this. And that's the part that's exciting for me, is to hear like the changes in people's way they're attacking us on the recruiting trail, which is funny because, I'm focused on us. I only want kids who want to be here. I tell kids that. We lost a kid the other day in recruiting who's a really good player, who I said, listen, you visited here enough times. The fact that you're not coming here yet, you don't want to be here, we're probably not a priority for you. You should not come here. You should go somewhere else. Because if you visited here 4 times and you still don't know if you want to be here, then you don't want to be here. So I'm supporting you to go somewhere else. Like, cross this off your list. If this doesn't get you to want to be here, I don't know what will. And I don't want to be a backup plan. There's a lot of people who want to be here, and I want people who want to be here.
Greg?
Hey, Coach. Greg Graves here with Cronkite News again. Just wondering, so as someone who grew up in the Valley watching the Sun Devils in the Pac-12 and previously the Pac-10, what does it mean to be the coach that takes this team into places like Starkville, Mississippi, or Manhattan, Kansas, or Ames, Iowa to play football?
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it is. It's cool to be honest. It's more surreal. I don't actually feel that I'm doing what we're doing. I know it sounds weird that, like, because I'm in it, I don't feel like I'm in it. Like, I go to the grocery store and people like take a photo. I'm like, why? Like, this is weird. Like, this is no, like, not with me. Like, there's people over there. Like, it's so that part is still like very, very surreal to me. I can't quite grasp that. To be honest, I'm just one of the people here. I'm still a fan of this place. I want to see all of our sports win, not just football. I want to see the university succeed. Like, I want to see people excited and like about in the valley about sports, and they rally together to go to a sports bar and watch games and high five and like that stuff. I still haven't, I don't know, processed, I guess, the role I have in it. Nor will I probably ever, to be honest, because I don't view it myself like that. I'm just one of the pieces of this big puzzle that kind of we're piecing together. We're nowhere near putting the puzzle together. You know, we just found this last year we may have gone on a run of 6 to 7 pieces that now we know what the bottom left corner looks like. Okay, we've got that fixed. But we're nowhere near what I really believe we can accomplish here. But that still takes time, and that's still really challenging. Very, very challenging.
All right, we'll finish up with Chris.
Kenny, you added Josh Omura in this personnel role. That's really important in college football nowadays with the move to profit sharing and almost like a salary cap here in some respects. How important is this position? Why was Josh the person that you wanted for it? How do you feel about how well situated that you are in these important off-field roles now?
Yeah, I definitely think we're trending in the right direction. Josh was somebody that was annoying to recruit against. Like, everybody you call was like, oh yeah, who do you have the best relationship with? Other than us, Josh. Who do you have the best? Josh. I'm like, golly, who's this Josh guy? And it happened to be that Josh worked with our chief of staff, Jason Cervecco, at Hawaii, and worked for Todd Graham in Hawaii. So I was like, well, I definitely know he has work ethic. He worked for Coach Graham. I definitely know that piece of what he was, what he kind of, the work environment and the structure and the detail. And then when I had a guy on our staff know him on a personal level who wives are friends, I'm like, okay, well, every recruit talks about this guy. We have some natural connections to this guy. This sounds like a home run from the GM and all that role. Up to this point, I'm going to continue to be a huge lead in that type of stuff. I just think when dealing with kids nowadays, I want to be kind of the point of contact from the general manager until we eventually hire a general manager. If we do, I want to be kind of the lead there, just so I know everything that's happening in the organization as this turns into a rev share model. I want to, like I said, I'm big on culture, and if I'm hands off in an area like that, then I'm not going to have a good grasp of the culture, and I want to make sure I have a grasp of that. And yeah, is that taxing at times? Are there times where I'm like, holy cow, I've been on the phone for 16 hours today, literally maybe more if you include 2 phones going back and forth. But it's one of those deals where I think it's still necessary for me to be very, very hands-on from that general manager role as we get into rev share. But Josh is going to be phenomenal leading that group and the recruitment and the personnel department to get players here. And I'll say this publicly because I say it privately, it doesn't matter. Nobody comes here because they get paid more money. So if you're a recruit, I'm sorry. You come here because you see the opportunity and you see that kids are not leaving our program. You see that our guys, our best players in our team want to be here. And if that's not going to show you that we treat our own players the right way, then the sales pitch is useless, because our own players have made the decision to be here. Our own players that have been tampered with, our own players that could have gone in the portal, our own guys who are being called by every school in the country are choosing to stay. Then the model we're doing is obviously somewhat correct. And that's will be my vision from now till forever. We're not going to use money and salary caps and all this stuff, to try to get a guy to come here. Nor does the NCAA rules want you to. You're not even supposed to. We're going to reward the people on our team that deserve it. And that's the model I believe in. I believe you come in here and you go to work, and if you do what you're supposed to do, you get rewarded. And I really believe in that. And I believe the more value you add, the more NIL opportunities you create for yourself. So super excited about Josh. Sorry to go on a tangent. I just I'm fired up for our team. I'm fired up for all these guys that chose to stay here when they had a whole bunch of opportunities to leave, and they said, no, I love it here. And we may not do things like the rest of the country when it comes to signing players and acquiring talent. We may do it a little bit different, but my biggest thing will always be do our players right. And if you're a guy who chooses to come here, that we're going to treat you right. And we're going to treat the kids who chose to come here right, not put you on the back burner once you get on our campus.